Um, so let's just have uh, you, Richard, give us an unofficial report on what the Government Operations Committee has been thinking about in terms of the hemp sections of the Senate Miscellaneous Ag Bill.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Representative Richard Nelson speaking. So this hemp bill, the section of 323, has got more plot twists than a daytime soap opera. And a lot of moving pieces. A couple of things are gonna put in down at GovOps. It'll be enacted upon, signed by the governor, enacted when it's passed. There's a manufacturer of a beverage that has opportunity to sell into Connecticut, and he needs a health inspection of health, and also a certificate. He's legal to do business in the state of Vermont. These are things in the hemp world that have never really been addressed. So they're addressing that downstairs in GovOps. So the CCB will have authority to give them a health inspection and to give them a certificate of business. So those are all good things happen with it. A lot of the other questions that have been posed, like I'd mentioned in here, this full spectrum distillate being able to be moved over into the cannabis world. And then the isolates as well. This is something right now we're gonna leave. I believe they're gonna leave it in rulemaking for the CCB to look at, because there's so many different players that could be affected by this. And for those of us that make the mistake and get elected next year, we can look at it in January. And if we like it, we like it. If we don't, we can work to make legislation then. There is a piece that was brought to the attention downstairs of GovOps about the movement of intoxicating hemp products into the state of Vermont. And so, and the tobacco board, tobacco and alcohol maybe, or whatever, was asked to police that, and they really think it's out of their realm. So they're going to move in a separate miscellaneous bill or whatever they got. They're going to move that into the Cannabis Control Board. And that goes back to what Sam Bellavance was talking about, keeping the products safe, keeping the products in their right lanes. So I thank them for taking that on. And some of it, it really just, it's moving. But our hemp product people will be protected with this bill. The way it's coming through, and it should work good for the Sam Bellavance and Annika and Devin over at Clean Industries. It should work good for all of them and be able to get them to keep doing business the way they're doing business.
Question, Richard. Do you think there'll be an actual bill that's voted on this session, or?
Yeah, it's part of 323. Yeah,
that will go through this.
Yeah, and I thank the chair for sending that down to GovOps, because they understand the other world of, the world of cannabis so much better than I think any of us do. Because they've had the deep dive, their chair helped craft that first language. So they have a really good understanding and they've been working with the other ledge council on part of this. Who's that gentleman?
Tucker?
Tucker, yeah, Tucker, yeah, ledge council for the dark side. So it's coming together and I think they're really using their due diligence and it'll be good when it comes back up to us and we'll get a walkthrough on it and should be okay with it.
Okay, let's,
Is that hard?
Yeah.
So how soon are we gonna? You had said Tuesday, last we heard.
yeah,
Tuesday, but he didn't say which Tuesday.
Yeah.
so no, it's today, and so originally I thought at 1:30. So that's why we started at 1:15, just to all be in our places, but now it's been pushed back to 2:00,
I
so.
see.
Yeah, they're supposed to straw pull it out today.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We could use the time to maybe just to go through, remind ourselves of the other sections in 323. And then we're gonna have a couple of amendments that we will look at once Bradley's here and have them on the screen. One is fluorinated containers. And the other is CAFO stakeholder.
Mhm.
And CAFO stakeholder, we've seen both of these but they're modified today. They're going to be different. Patricia, I don't know whether, did you post those? Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. They're on our committee page, yeah.
Are you open to having some light discussion on section 4?
Yes, yeah. In fact, why don't we? Yeah, I just saw Chair Sheldon and she said, somebody told me section 4 is still in your bill. And I said, well, we haven't touched the bill, nothing's come out of it yet, but so what we can, let's do this. Let's go through it sort of section by section. High level, just to refresh our memory. So the first 3 sections are.
Where do I find the most?
Okay, so S323, can we post that?
Yeah.
As passed by the Senate.
So we don't have any.
Nothing's changed yet. Yeah, everything we've done has been in a different document.
Got it. I can.
We are gonna strike out, if I may, Chair, sections, their municipal regulations, we're striking that out, sections 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, so I think assuming that 941 clears the Senate
Mhm.
tomorrow, then we'll have that as a standalone bill and we'll strike sections 1, 2, and 3 of this bill. That if you've got that document, then which is as passed by the Senate.
Yeah, page 8, section 4 starts at line 9. It's 323, as passed by the Senate.
I think we're doing on section 4. What page is that?
Page 8.
As passed. Go down to page 8. Oh, you got the red squigglies. Go to maybe our committee page, you'll see it up on there too, S323, after I found this. I fully understand, for not more than $250,000. And I do concur that that is not a farm stand. If someone puts up a shack and imports $250,000 of Pennsylvania peaches, that's not fair to our village stores that have had to go through all the process. And, you know, and I'd certainly advocate for striking that language out. If the rest of the amendment was, suitable to the other people in the committee, and so, and maybe there's more to it than that, but.
Yeah, I think that the 250 is basically all there is here in section 4.
Mhm.
Um, and
Oh, I see what you're saying. The rest of it's already it's current language.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So currently, and we did, so one of the many, let me just pause and say, last night I pulled up Act 181
Mhm.
from 2 years ago, just to see what else was in it, because I knew there was a lot in it, and it's 100
It's a long
pages or something, yeah. With a very handy 2-page summary by Ledge Council, which is nice to have. But one of the things that we did there was we worked on this language for accessory on-farm businesses, and basically made it easier for a farm who's farming and has a farm stand to bring in some other product. And I think there was a thought that maybe we would do more, so we asked the LURB to give us some direction, and that was one of the things that they were supposed to have done by now, that they just got bogged down with everything. So it hasn't happened yet, but we're promised that that would come. So I think that the legislature next session is likely to want to dig into, I know that groups like Rural Vermont are very eager to dig into accessory on-farm businesses. So there'd be an opportunity for maybe more discussion about this, but I think at this point today, as from a policy standpoint, probably not a good thing to. That's
No, I understand. Freshman, second year freshman mistake, you know, it's the underline is the new language, the other stuff's already been there. So.
So essentially, in our little part of 181 was
Yeah.
We- we essentially made the exemption for farms somewhat clearer, easier, so that Act 250 wasn't triggered, right?
right, yeah, right. So
So it went from principally produced to whatever.
yeah, triggering Act 250 is what people are trying to avoid.
Right.
And
And farms are exempt.
farms are exempt,
Farming.
and accessory on-farm businesses kind of, in some cases.
Yeah.
And that's going to continue to be, whatever happens this session, that's going to continue to be an issue next year, next session.
So it wasn't municipal zoning. It was just
not.
Act 250.
Yeah,
So that's November. The current draft coming from House Environment has the November 15th. They would.
for a due date.
Putting on accessory on-farm businesses.
Okay, well, that's good, because that gives them then another 45 days if they don't have it, and then we'll still have it
And then-
in January.
Right, so they'll be able to work with
Yeah.
that to see if we want to make some changes.
Yeah. So if you remember the report that they did for the wood products manufacturing sector that we acted on, then they had like 9 or 10 recommendations. Some of them they could do themselves. That may be the case also with accessory on-farm businesses, if they have the authority, it's just a question of using it.
Hopefully it's more timely than the stakeholder group report.
it's, it's not anyone, it happens all the time. We ask for reports and it's just hard to,
Yeah,
real life gets in the way.
yeah.
Chair Murphy?
Yes.
I have this section 4.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I guess it's line 18 at the end says underline.
Yeah.
Or not more than 250,000.
Yes.
And does that underline mean it's coming out or staying in?
No, the proposal would be, that's new language going in. And so when we strike section 4, it doesn't mean that we're deleting this from existing statute. It just means we're not contemplating adding anything to the
I'm going back to a conversation I believe we had possibly Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning or Friday before I left about the 250,000 being
Yeah,
going away.
yeah.
Did that ever happen? Or-
So that's what we're talking about right now, is just pulling this section.
Not all of section 4, just what's on.
No, pulling all of section 4.
All,
And the rest of the language stays as is. The only, that only affects the underline.
But,
thank you.
yeah, but the 50% rule is still there. That's not going anywhere. All right, should we keep going? Just through the sections
Yep.
here. So far, we don't need to talk about who's reporting because those sections won't be in there presumably. Section 5, milk producers. This is fairly straightforward. We talked about who would report this. Was it you, John? Okay. Does anybody have any concerns about this milk producer section? And this is not your last chance to say so, but if anybody had been reviewing it. And then section 6 is the farm to school program contracts. I don't think anybody has raised any concerns about this section.
Just changing part of the contracts. So,
Yeah. Who was going to report this section? We're going to do this,
I don't mind doing it. I thought it was,
or had we said that?
I think it was a small section. I kind of felt like it had been assigned to somebody else, but I feel like I'd be happy to do it.
I can't remember what I thought it was.
Were you here that day? Maybe you
I
weren't.
think you might not have been. I think you might have been doing maple syrup stuff.
He doesn't remember the night, so.
It's all been blocked out.
Well, you're not coming.
I'm okay with not, I can.
You have
sit back.
a bill that's got quite a bit in it when it comes back from
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So, but, okay, so maybe it makes sense for you to do this, John, just because there's small sections or maybe you'll have Michelle do it. Okay,
See what else Michelle's doing.
yeah,
I don't remember what the other one was. I mean,
well,
it might be seeds.
But seeds might get pulled.
so when we get there,
It'll be me or Michelle, depending on.
now we've got section 7, pest control compact repeal. It was an easy one.
Yeah.
And we can team it up with the licensing of pesticide applicators. Did you want to do this section, Rick?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Come.
Private applicator.
This is,
I'm gonna get commercialized.
You are?
I'm gonna get the study material hopefully today and take the test next week. The gentleman that sells the products to me has a 300-acre farm that we envelop. And he has to send machines over to do it, a nurse truck and a machine. And I said, I'll get my license, change my class of my license. It's the same product that I use. I said, if you think I'm good enough, I'll do it. He said, you're good enough.
You don't need liability to be.
under that, I'll be subcontracting and under his place, under his company.
Okay, well, sounds like you're just the person to.
Yeah.
Get a badge.
Yes, I want that.
So, that's section 8.
Yeah.
So 7 and 8 then, Richard, okay.
Yeah.
I think the seed sections, we're gonna have more testimony tomorrow, but Michelle, we got lined you up to do those?
Yeah.
Okay. That goes through page. Okay, that goes to top of page 23.
Yeah.
Right, then section 15, Jed, I think this is the Vermont Agricultural Credit Program. I don't think we have any concerns about this section. Section 15 and is that just the 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
State agriculture.
Am I only dealing with 15?
But you're doing all of them. Up through 21, Jed.
15 through.
Yeah.
We have a date, which these may be.
Yeah.
Not
We
yet.
haven't voted it out yet, so it's hard to say.
Okay, now I'll get up.
Okay. Yeah. And Ledge Council can help with the notes.
I'm trying to think when there's a group reporting, like we come back to you at the end and you'll be like the 500 witnesses for this, or do we do with every report we do?
I think only the
You heard from-
primary person does it. If we're doing
Yeah,
pieces.
the final person can
Yeah.
get the witness list. Yeah. And that doesn't have to be me. It could be.
Right. The last person.
Yeah. Okay, then hemp is 22, 23, 24, 25. And Bradley is on his way. Go into that.
Who's gonna do him?
I think Richard's gonna do that too.
I would offer to. I'm just as try to be unconfused about it as can be.
Deep dive.
David,
Yes,
I think I probably missed testimony on the credit program.
yeah.
So they're basically starting a whole new credit program.
No, I think
Not
it's,
exactly.
I don't think it's anything new. It's renamed and moved.
It was merging, wasn't it? I thought it was, there were two organizations and they were doing similar things and then, and instead of replicating each other, they're gonna merge under the name of the one
It's
organization.
already existing, it's just.
Yeah, Richard could tell you more. I mean,
Reorganizing.
They're not gonna allow loans to maple sugar producers anymore because they're the money making bastards of the agricultural world.
Maybe.
The gold baby, yeah.
We're fruit bars. Champagne.
No, it's just, Greg, it's just, same organization, PETA, and the agricultural. They're just doing away with having the two board. Well, they're like two boards, but the same board. And instead of having to warn two meetings, they're just gonna do it as one.
This, yes, data's getting rolled together and something else.
No, the ag lending authority is just being. It's under Vita's, it's gonna stay under Vita, it's just cleaning it up and
Okay.
it really, it's efficiencies of government at work. And that's something we wanna encourage.
We can have Bradley give a
Yeah.
more technical response.
Yeah.
And then the last section, 26, Jed, that's the mortgage authority for conservation districts.
You know what page that is?
That's the page 44.
non-AAFM section.
Um,
Is Jed doing that one too?
I think we thought Jed could take that on as well.
You represent all borrowers, Jed, in this committee.
Even though there's something related, is the PUC coming into our committee at all?
Next week. Yeah. Uh, Bradley,
Yes.
I'm talking about you.
Great.
Uh,
Been working hard for the committee.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Do you want to, so we've walked through the bill just to refresh our memories. We may have a couple questions, but just a couple on things other than hemp. And then we'll, I think, maybe have you, since you're thinking about hemp right now, do you want to talk to us about that, or is the chair coming up also, did he say?
No, I don't think so. I think they have a full agenda today.
Okay.
So they just voted the amendment out and I'm happy to discuss it with me.
Why don't we do that? And then if the committee wants to hear directly from a member of the committee, we can encourage the chair or someone else to come up.
Is that gonna be an amendment from their committee? Are they actually gonna present on the menu?
No, they're going to, they, maybe through Brad as a proxy, are going to share this proposed language. We're going to incorporate it into this.
So when it comes to the point of the argument.
Yeah, yeah. Does that work?
So like,
The upper parts.
they're like our town hall and this.
You might have to prop something in there.
We can also open the
I
door.
think last year we had some kind of like a water bottle or something.
Got it. And then the upper storm, I got 2 storm windows to go through.
They
We
don't.
don't hold them.
Don't let me hold the process of this.
There's no easy defenestration of this.
Yeah, right.
Good ventilation, you have
Let Megan know.
what happens
From Mexico, fly right in the window.
You see him in the video, but I don't think Agatha will be watching.
I know in the past we used to play with it a lot, but I'm not sure I actually did anything. So maybe we could ask for instructions. Okay, and if we want to have a breeze, we could open the door too, and while it's quiet out there. Bradley, do you want to post the?
I sent the amendment to Patricia, so it should be posted.
Okay.
I forwarded to you,
Is it on our page?
Yes,
Okay,
you responded actually.
yes. All right, hemp amendment. Do you want to bring it up, Bradley, or do you want to talk through it? Oh, here we go.
Mr. Chair.
What? You got us.
I received tardiness. Really
You
perceived.
arrive at a countdown of,
Right.
you
Let me just ask. While Bradley's bringing that up, would you like to, since your committee is busy with many things, would you like to speak first and then you can go back down?
I mean, he's there, he's got the words.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we run through it,
Okay.
and then if there's any questions about policy choices,
Okay.
I'm all yours.
Great.
No, I left them very capable hands to go through the retail cannabis developments.
Okay. All right, so we have now in front of us, draft 7.1 of amendments to S 323. Bradley, is that what we've got?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
All right, so this is, this was just voted on a straw poll from House GovOps. And there are 7 instances of amendment, and I will go through those. The first instance of amendment is some conforming changes that the committee is already familiar with in a previous draft just changing a citation, or excuse me, the first instance amendment is a change to the purpose section. Apologies, I was reading ahead. And this was untouched from when the committee sent it to government operations. The purpose of the subchapter is to support small business hemp producers and processors in taking advantage of opportunities for the cultivation and sale of hemp and hemp products.
So this was language that we had proposed, and the committee downstairs is okay with this. Okay.
The second instance of amendment is some corrections to internal citations. And that was in the House version, unchanged in the GovOps version. The third instance of amendment adds sections 10, 11, 12, and 13. Sections 8 and 9 are in the bill anyway. And I'll just go over them. So this is a section of the bill that talks about permissive rulemaking. And so the Cannabis Control Board may make rules on the following issues: prohibit hazardous additives to hemp products or specify additive limits relative to substances that are toxic, not generally recognized as safe, or designed to make a product more addictive or appealing to people under 21. Specify when a registered hemp product contains more than 0.4 milligrams of THC shall be restricted for sale to people 21 years of age or older, in a restricted sale or in specified settings, or both. So those two are already in S323. 10, 11, 12, 13 are added, and you'll be familiar with 10, 11, and 12. I believe that those are unchanged since you sent that to government operations. This gives the Cannabis Control Board the ability to make rules. Does not require them to, but it gives them the ability to make rules to define craft processors as a class of small businesses with different needs and risks, to exempt craft processor licensees from the requirements of the subchapter that the board finds to be necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare, to waive or reduce licensing fees for craft processor applicants pursuant to rule or readily acceptable policy, to exempt certain product categories from the requirement to register under this chapter, or to establish sanitary requirements for licensed processing facilities. So this piece highlighted in yellow was just added today. And I don't know if we've heard directly from the Department of Public Health, but they don't regulate, they most often regulate food establishments and things of the sort. And this would be making food, which are items for human consumption. However, because it is cannabis related, they typically don't inspect these facilities. So this would give the Cannabis Control Board authority to establish sanitary requirements for licensed processing facilities.
Sorry, Bradley, up to this point, is everything that you've shown us consistent with the language that we had worked on?
Yes.
Okay.
The fourth section is adds a requirement for some rulemaking. And what's currently in the bill is the board shall adopt rules to establish requirements for the licensure of processors of hemp-derived process intermediaries, and hemp products. So that is already in the bill. The board is going to make rules regarding these items, including hemp-derived process intermediaries. And I believe House Operations added this piece, but we added this piece, or excuse me, House Agriculture added this piece to regulate the use of processing facilities and equipment, to permit processors to use the same equipment for hemp and cannabis processing to prevent cross-contamination between hemp and cannabis. The fifth instance of amendment adds some language to fees, and I believe that this was added by government operations. So we have the fees that are untouched here, but then there is another section that is added here that the board may issue longer registrations prorated at the same cost per year for products it deems low risk and shelf stable. Products may be defined in distinguished and readily accessible published guidance. And so it's essentially a list of products that may not have to be registered annually, but it could have a longer registration period prorated at the cost of what that product registration is. And I do want to highlight this for House Government Operations, but this is just going to be published in guidance. And so it's not rulemaking. Rulemaking is a process with the Administrative Procedure Act that that would require the Cannabis Control Board to go over and have rules that with public comment and public input and had that kind of back and forth and then end up with LCAR and the Secretary of State. This would just be guidance. And so the committee earlier on also has some instruction for the Cannabis Control Board to add guidance and not rules. So I'm just highlighting another section where the Cannabis Control Board would issue guidance, but not rules.
Can I ask a question? So, so in the fees, a processor who makes body products out of hemp or something like that would pay $500. Then they pay $75 for every single kind of product that they make.
That'd be correct.
I think that was what they did want, right?
But if they're deemed a craft processor through rules,
Then they might be able to.
they might get those fees waived or reduced.
Is there a way to help nudge that in that direction?
Well, it's in here.
Okay.
It's in the section under craft processors.
I do think, and I'm very sympathetic to your, to the concern. I
Yeah,
think we have heard this, from others. We, by simply by talking about it and making clear our intent, I think our intent is very clear.
Yeah.
I think the board has been sitting in the room.
Yeah.
Has been having conversations.
yeah,
I think that, to sort of, to answer your question, is there a way? I think this is a way. I hope this is a way.
okay.
I just want to highlight that it would be pursuant to rule or readily accessible policy, so it wouldn't necessarily have to go through rulemaking on the waiver of those license fees.
So like you were saying a moment ago with, what was the expression? Guidance.
Yeah, it's guidance that does potentially, because when you go through the Administrative Procedure Act, that's how the legislature delegates authority to administrative agencies. And then so when an administrative agency follows the rules of the Administrative Procedure Act, it carries with it the presumption that that is a valid delegation of legislative authority. Here, the policy choice is to delegate that into something that is a little bit much more amorphous and does not follow those procedures. So could someone potentially challenge a written policy as an unlawful delegation of legislative authority? I believe the answer to that question is that is a possibility. And so, but that's the policy choice here. I just want to make sure that I'm advising you that those are the risks when we permit an administrative agency to establish guidance. It doesn't have to go through rulemaking.
Representative O'Brien.
Just a couple of quick questions, Bradley. This one right here, if the CCB is establishing sanitary requirements, is that going to come with potentially appropriations oversight because of enforcement, say, for example, might require somebody has to go out and say, okay, this passes these new sanitary requirements.
I think the idea is that this is included in the inspections that they do of these facilities anyway. And so they'll establish guidance about cleanliness and things of that sort. Whether that's going to cost them more money, they could testify and ask for an additional appropriation. But as of right now, I think the assumption is that it gets worked into the work that they're already doing.
It's like the equivalent of the Department of Health sanitary inspections.
Potentially, if they choose to do rulemaking, one, they have to choose to do rulemaking. So this is in a permissive section as opposed to a mandatory section. So if they choose to do rulemaking and they choose to make the rules extensive in that way, they could go in like the Department of Health. They could choose a different kind of framework if they wanted.
Just one other quick thing on the up above the 0.4 ruling that there was no language there about size of the container that's sold. So are we just leaving that out?
So that's in S323 as it is. So that's not an addition or change.
Right.
And neither committee has so far proposed any kind of changes. This conforms to federal law. So if the federal law changed and our laws were not in sync. So if the federal law went into effect in November, the way it did, which has the 0.4 per container, right? Without a specification about the size of the container or things of that sort. The federal law went into effect in November the way that without change. And we did change something, our laws would be out of sync with the federal government. And so that would create some ambiguity, right? Because you would have a product, potentially could have a product that is hemp under Vermont law, but is cannabis under federal law. And then you would create some issues in terms of banking, licensing, insurance, and then also interstate commerce for those, what we would call hemp producers, and then federal government, they would be cannabis producers. And so the purpose of the bill is to kind of conform the Vermont's system to federal law, the best that we can when there's a giant question mark hanging over our heads, when we don't actually know what is going to happen in November. But suffice to say, this language conforms to the federal law. And if the federal law change, this is also in a section that is permissive rulemaking, so they don't necessarily have to do rulemaking about this, and they could adapt their rulemaking to whatever the federal law winds up being. And so that's a possibility too. The short of it is it's trying to regulate an industry that is evolving under our feet, so to speak. And I think this represents that.
Yeah, on sanitation inspections, think milk inspector.
Yeah.
You're going through you're viewing their lineup of how they make, and, is it clean? Is it sanitary? Or no flaw? You remember the milk inspector. Remember Connecticut used to have their own milk inspector in the state of Vermont. And we had the Vermont inspectors and the Connecticut inspectors, and eventually Connecticut said, now the Vermont inspectors can do the inspection for us. So, in lieu of Connecticut hiring someone to do the inspections here, and this is case specific, but, Vermont, the CCB can have a person that does their sanitation inspections. Just kind of about exactly the way a milk inspector would.
Right, but maybe more training or something like that if they don't do it currently.
Oh, you ever have Eric Perkins Terrier system about? He's trained up pretty good. Yeah, it'd be the same type of deal, look at it. Is it clean? Is the water temperature hot enough? Are you putting out right amount of cleaners, or,
Representative Lipsky, you had a hand up.
I did, and I'm going back, Chair, to a point that Michelle brought up about the authority of the TCB to set lower or eliminate fees for various products. And then, Chair, I think you asked count about they in fact had the authority, but you didn't bring up anything regarding the commerce clause. For instance, if we get some of these body products from North Carolina or New Jersey, and we charge them the full fee per product, and we the board's more sympathetic for the small craft producers here in Vermont. Are we at risk of any violation of a commercial
So, yeah,
interstate clause?
so there is, if the rules that the Cannabis Control Board came up with favored Vermont producers over out-of-state producers, you're running into, it's called the Privileges and Immunities Clause, but basically it's favoring one state over another, which could violate the United States Constitution. And so the idea would hopefully be in rulemaking that the craft producers would be defined in such a way as to not exclude out-of-state people from being eligible to be defined as a craft producer. And so long as in-state and out-of-state people are treated the same, and the language is designed to be the same, then it should pass constitutional muster.
Thank you.
Right, we were.
Okay.
Yeah, we
I can
we're
go
down
back to where we were.
section.
Okay. And the Cannabis Regulation Fund, that piece was in the bill before, but basically it allows the Cannabis Control Board to deposit these fees into the fund that they already have, the special fund. And then there's a sales restriction. And so this language is modeled after restrictions that we have on tobacco. And essentially what it does is that unregistered hemp or unregistered cannabis means a product required by state law or rule of the Cannabis Control Board to be registered with the Cannabis Control Board, including a product derived from unregistered hemp or unregistered cannabis that is not registered on the date a transaction occurs, right? So these rules are meant to require registration of these products to ensure that they conform with the rules and standards that we've set. And these rules and standards are also meant to conform with the federal law. And so this section would establish some punishments for people who sell unregistered products in the state. So no person shall cause unregistered hemp or unregistered cannabis purchased by mail or through a computer network, telephone network, or other electronic network to be shipped to anyone other than a licensed cannabis laboratory in the state. No person shall, with knowledge or reason to know of the violation, provide substantial assistance to a person in violation of this section. Violation of the section is punishable as follows. 1, a knowing or intentional violation of the section shall be punishable by imprisonment for not more than 5 years or a fine of not more than $5,000 or both. In addition to or in lieu of any other civil or criminal remedy or provided by law upon a determination that a person has violated the section, the Attorney General may impose a civil penalty in the amount not to exceed $5,000 for each violation. For purposes of the subsection, each shipment or transport of unregistered hemp or unregistered cannabis shall constitute a separate violation. The Attorney General may seek an injunction to restrain threatened or actual violations of this section. In any action brought pursuant to the section, the state shall be entitled to recover the costs of investigation, expert witness fees, the action, and reasonable attorney's fees. Person who violates the section engages in an unfair or deceptive trade practice in violation of the state's Consumer Protection Act. If a court determines that a person has violated the provisions of this section, the court shall order any profits, gain, gross receipts, or other benefit from the violation to be disgorged and paid to the state treasurer for deposit to the general fund. Unless otherwise expressly provided, the penalties or remedies or both under the section are in addition to any other penalties and remedies available under any other law of the state. So it establishes a structure that is modeled on a structure that we use for certain tobacco products that penalizes selling unregistered hemp and cannabis products in the state. And then the effective dates. And so there's been some requests to have the effective date of the hemp sections be on passage. So this will likely change in the final version of the amendment for S323. But right now, the idea is just to have the hemp sections be effective on passage and all other sections of the bill effective on July 1, 2026, which is what the bill, which S323 says for right now. Now, I just want to caveat effective on passage. It's not flipping a switch, right? Because there is going to be a lot of buildup that the Cannabis Control Board has to do, including rulemaking, in order to make sure that hemp products comply with the federal law. And so this will take time. But it also, having it effective on passage, gives them a running start before July 1st to start engaging in that process. But it will take time because a lot of this will be done by rule. It will take some time before that kind of regulatory process is built up. So this is laying the foundation, but they're going to be building the structure through rulemaking.
And this section on sales restriction, that was all added by government.
Yes, anything highlighted was added by government operations.
Why don't we have Representative Byron come up since he's here and reflect on anything he's heard us say or that you think you want to emphasize that you heard Bradley say.
Thank you, council. Anywhere set up. So. How you doing, committee? Good. Sat in this chair in a while. Representative Matt Byron, Addison 3, Chair, House Government Operations, Military Affairs. So thank you for charging us with this task on this flyby. This is definitely something where the hemp conversation really did butt up against the adult use conversation, which is the jurisdiction of House Gov Ops. And so as we had conversations with the Cannabis Control Board, with some industry folks throughout the state and stakeholder groups, leading up to seeing the language that you all sent down to us to review. And with that, there was a couple of things to take into consideration while we worked towards this, right? It was the needs of what's going on within the sector in the state of Vermont right now, knowing what's going on like nationally within the industry itself. And then the very much unknown of an executive order that is going to have major ramifications if it stays the course in November, right? So we wanted to be very conscious of what the needs of the sector were here, but also aware that this big variable in November could essentially just undo everything that we've just tried to do, right? So that's sort of the intent behind working with the Cannabis Control Board for this process where the guidance comes into play, where rulemaking comes into play. Being a part-time legislature, it's difficult for us to react quickly. It's difficult for us to react quickly even when we're in session, let alone out of session. So that's why the committee deemed it wise to lean into guidance and rulemaking authority with the CCB so they could be more nimble as November unfolds. So I think that's just sort of like the mindset of the approach as we went towards this. Now, I think the biggest change in here was the Section 23B, sales and restrictions. So we started looking at this, the cannabis market with the hemp-derived products is very much doing what tobacco is doing with their a very creative product landscape, right? And the intent was to try and address more clearly internet sales, online sales, things of that nature. I think the nicest way of putting it is it's very porous with its access. So what the conversation really looked like was similar to what this body looked at with S198, the tobacco bill that moved through House Commerce and Healthcare. We looked at some sections of that to kind of like reel in online sales, things of that nature. And with just like landscape of products that is getting more and more robust with unregulated products, untested products. The CCB can speak to that in more detail as they've been tracking it a lot. So the intent behind this section was to give more authority to the AG and to control and monitor these products that are coming in via internet access, but also like being aware of like what our producers are making for products that can be sold both in state and in some instances with low THC out of state as well. So this original language, one of the things that held up delivery of this language from our committee to yours was we were trying to figure out whether or not this, because it's very similar to what we've done with tobacco in the past, does it live in cannabis statute or does it live in tobacco statute? And what we were doing with S198 was kind of a late flag by the AG's office, but a good flag. They were like, there's nothing, it could have a conflict with how we were reducing penalties for youth access, for like youth purchase. So the committee deemed it better that we set this up in the statutes pertaining to cannabis because we wanted to have a stiffer penalty structure than what would have resulted if S198 passes. that make sense? Okay, cool. So I think ultimately that's kind of the point I want to drive home with this is that this stuff is giving the capacity of the authority to offer more oversight and punitive authority for people who are bringing unregulated, untested, and unregistered products into the state via internet sales. So there's that piece. And then some of the other parts here, I'm sorry, yeah.
We just do that with all the products that come into our state.
Meaning
I'm just.
it's General Assembly.
Everything has to be
We can do
registered.
anything we want. You just need a plurality of us and a governor to say yes.
Just that.
Just that. So, and then I think,
Wait, Matt, just,
oh, sorry, yes.
is this a big problem now? Are we getting lots of unregistered THC coming into the state?
And this is kind of the rub is like, it is like, it's sort of a loophole within a hemp. Yes. It's an ever evolving market, so we got to stay on top of it because people are really creative. We make laws, they find loopholes, we make laws, close loopholes, rinse, repeat, right?
Representative Nelson.
This is the issue that, one of our witnesses brought to us with product coming in from out of state with 5 milligrams or whatever of THC in the hemp gummies. He said, he looked at this being a positive to give the Cannabis Control Board the ability to keep, 2 lanes, intoxicating and non-intoxicating. And that's what we've been working towards with these gentlemen over here. This language really helps with that. And I thank GovOps for having the foresight to see around the corner.
We try to play the long game down there. But thank you, member. Yes.
I think we cut you off. So did you have other?
One other piece I was just going to touch on, it's only one line, but I think it really helps a lot with some of the manufacturers here in the state that were like some of the larger scale ones. And it's on page 2, line 12, and that's the sanitary requirements for licensed processing facilities. I think that one line right there answered a lot of it did a lot for a couple of concerned parties in the state about their style of manufacturing.
Right. Anything else? Well, I'll echo Representative Nelson's thank you for taking on the second part of the heavy lifting. I think we did some heavy lifting.
No, absolutely.
But good, yeah.
And I guess I'm not sure if council mentioned it before I got here, but my committee straw polled this 11-0-0.
Good. Right. We have a little more work to do on the bill, so I don't know when we're going to vote it out. I keep thinking it'll be any day now, and it won't be today. Could be tomorrow. So we'll keep you apprised of that.
Yeah, wonderful. And yes, I'm here to help out with any other questions. Should anything else come up with this, consider me a resource.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Right. I think maybe we'll take just a quick break here. We've been sitting, some of us have been sitting for a while. So let's take, Bradley, are you needed in another place?
I'm not.
Okay. No, let's
I say that.
let's keep it to 10 minutes anyway.